And we are back. Sainers, match preview, the first match preview of 2024. It's for the Pracky game on Friday, RSCA Park, Feb 23 against the Bombers. Bounce is at 2 p.m, gates open at 1 p.m, and it's broadcast on KO, but who cares about KO? Get to RSCA Park. Let's get behind the boys. We're taking on Essendon, who everyone's pumping up a little bit. They've brought in a lot of players. We'll talk about which players shortly. We know the main one. We know who it is. It is Jade Gresham, and it's likely that he will face his old side on Friday. I don't actually know what type of reception it's going to be, to be honest. It's a Pracky game. Do fans really get that? Are we going to boo him? What's the deal? You know, that's the question on my mind. But to the Saints, super excited. We're back at Moorabbin. The Pracky games at Moorabbin over the last couple of years have been a lot of fun to go to. We're coming into this with a full head of steam. We've got a lot of momentum. There are a few players that won't be playing, which I'll talk about shortly again. But for the most part, it's a fairly fit group, finally. We'll be able to see Liam Henry, Darcy Wilson, Lance Collard, a lot of the fresh faces running around for the first time. And we'll be able to see Max King after a full preseason. It is important. We want to hit the ground running. We want to really implant our game style. I think we're going to play a little bit quicker than we've seen. I think last year we controlled the ball a little bit more, knowing that we didn't really have the forward players in the team because of injuries. And we learned to defend better than anyone in the competition, which is a big tick. That's the first start. But now the second start is learning to kick a bigger score. And I think, you know, the trialling of King, Sharman, Caminiti, what's that combination going to look like in this Pracky game? That's the one thing I'm really interested in. I don't think the backline's going to be too different. I think maybe we'll see Isaac Keeler feature there a little bit more, which will be really cool. Max Heath, obviously Tom Campbell in the ruck with Rowe. The midfield, how much Owens and Filippo play in the midfield. Even Liam Henry, is he going to play in the guts, or is he going to be more on wing or half forward? And then Jack Higgins in match simulation. He's been pushing up the ground quite a bit, and similar to Nasiah off halfback, he's been pushing up to the centre circle at times when the ball is in the forward half. So I think hopefully we'll see a very exciting game. High scoring, obviously. Pracky games always are pretty high scoring, especially when it's going to be 4 quarters, and then I think they're going to do another 3 or 4 on top of that, potentially, to get, you know, everyone some onto the ground for a bit of a run. But the first 4 quarters, obviously, are the ones that really count, and I assume we will play a pretty strong team in the first 4, and then after that we'll see some rotations on some of the younger boys. Let's go through the injuries very quickly, and we'll talk about who we're not going to see, which is disappointing. Straight off the bat, Hunter Clark, obviously concussion 1 week away. He's looking very good. He was in training on, I think it was Monday when I was there. He had the cap on, but he was in training and running through drills, which looked really good, did some laps. Zachy Jones, concussion TBC as well, so I guess he won't probably feature on Friday. Jack Sinclair, 2 to 3 weeks, looking good for round 1, but won't feature at all in the practice games. Not that he needs to, he's Jack Sinclair. Paddy Dow, 3 to 4 weeks, knee, touch and go for round 1. Dan Butler, touch and go for round 1 with an ankle, 3 to 4 weeks. Jack Hayes, knee. It says 5 to 6 weeks, so I guess we won't see him on Friday. I thought he was in training the other day and looked pretty good, but maybe not. James Van Ayres, ankle, back out there the other day, which was good to see. The flowing mullet, 5 to 6 weeks with an ankle. And Ben Patton, pictorial, 12 to 16 weeks, it says there. So we're not going to see Ben Patton for pretty much after the bye. But that, compared to last year, that's amazing. Like, last year we had 16 on the list. It was absurd. We played so many Sandy players through the Pracky games because we had so many injuries. So this is good. I mean, they are all actually, I guess apart from Jack Hayes, James Van Ayres, they are of the smaller size, all mids, but I think we've got enough rotation through there now, especially with Owens and Filippo, that can go through there that will cover the bases of like the Hunter Clarks and maybe the Paddy Dows that would have otherwise gone through there. But I do want to really focus on the midfield in this game because the Bombers do have a pretty good midfield, and I think that, you know, that's the one Achilles heel for the team is when everyone talks about St Kilda, and they are very complimentary at times. You know, great defense, young team, young core under 23 is very good, but their midfield's not stacked with stars. And yeah, that's true, but the big one is Jack Steele. You know, he looks good this offseason. We haven't seen the proper Jack Steele in like a year and a half, 2 years because of his injuries. He hasn't gotten consistency with his body. He admitted that at the end of last year. So that's a big one. He's announced back as captain. The leadership group is basically the same. Rowan Marshall's in there now, which is really exciting. And then you've got, Brad Crouch. He isn't in the leadership group, but we know he's a leader. Kel Wilkie, vice captain. These guys are all going to be taking part on Friday. So I'm really excited to see the lift in standards. It's not just going to be like what we did last year. I think we've gone up that 25%, even just verbally. The communication on Monday in some of the drills, the coaches didn't have to say a thing. It was windy. It was the young kids pointing around. Then the senior boys, they were yelling at each other like it was a grand final. It was just match sim on a Monday morning. So if they've got that approach on Friday, I'm really excited to see what we can do against the Bombers. I think obviously the Bombers are going to be a new look team. Jade Gresham's come in, so that's going to be interesting whether he plays midfield or forward. I would think probably more forward. Todd Goldstein in the ruck against Rowe will be interesting. Ben Mackay, it'd be good to see Max King just tally him up if that's who he's going to play on. Just to piss them off a little bit. They're very excited to get him in, but it'd be nice to see Max King tally him up. And it's a good opponent for Max King, It's already a pretty good defender straight off the bat in a pracky game. They got Xavier Dersma, and then they've got Nate Caddy, who was their first round draftee that will most likely debut on Friday. But yeah, they're one of those teams that could do really well this year, the Bombers, or they could just be where they are. They've got a good coach, similar to Ross. Scott is straight to the point. He's not going to take any shit. He has high standards and no excuses. And that's very similar to Ross. So I'm going to, expect a pretty good performance from the Bombers. They obviously have a lot of fresh faces, so it might take some time to gel. But for us, I think if we stick to our system and deliver what I've seen from training, I'll be very happy. I think considering it's our RSEA, I think we're all pretty bullish about our chances this year. And I think we've got more weapons than people give us credit for. I really do. I think, we don't get talked up enough in terms of, potential A graders. I think if you look at current A graders, maybe not. But if you look at that core group coming through that could really go to the next level this year, not in the next 2 or 3 years, but really from day dot Friday, they could really take us to the next level. There's a crop of 5 or 6 that could genuinely go to that A grade level, and a couple of them could be all Australian by the end of the year. Alongside Jack Steele, who could return to his best, and Sinclair, who could continue to back up his good form, and Rowan Marshall, could he be the ruck, all Australian ruck this year? That's stuff that hopefully we're not going to know the answers on Friday, but I just want to see a quicker brand of football on Friday. I want us to be obviously still very defensively sound, and I think we will be with the backline that we've got. Josh Battle, Wilkie, Webster, Stocker. Dougal Howard will obviously play fullback a little bit. Zane Cordy as well will rotate through there. We'll see those combinations and maybe which ones Ross will prefer from the first quarter to maybe the second period where we start to rotate. That's when you I guess that's where the coaches will show their hand a little bit as to who's preferred and who's still on the precipice of maybe sneaking into the best 22 for round 1. So I'm excited for it, Sainers. I'm going to be there. My boss is actually an Essendon fan, so I think he might duck over and watch as well, which will be fun. But yeah, get down if you can. It's free, so obviously just rock up. Wear your Saints colours. The weather's not going to be too hot like today, which is good. It's going to be 21, 22 degrees. Comfortable football weather. Get down, support the boys, and then obviously the following Sunday we've got North Melbourne, I think at 2 p.m. at RSCA again. So if you've got time, get down. Let's get a big crowd. We know the Bombers will probably rock up because they're very excited to see all the fresh faces, but I reckon this is let's just have a mini statement. Let's just go out, get the job done, move on. No injuries. I'll be very happy with that. So appreciate you watching this video, Sainers. If you haven't watched my season preview video that came out yesterday with Joey Montagna, please do. It's an awesome watch. He's got so much knowledge about the boys, just the AFL in general. He's one of the best commentators going around, to be honest, in my books. And yeah, I'll be back after the game on Friday for a match review. Whether it's live or not is TBC, depending on how long this game goes for, but there will be a review after the game regardless. So put it in the comments. What do you want to see from this game? What is the one thing you're most excited about going into Friday, taking on the Bombers? Put it in the comments and I'll go through them when I can. But yeah, thank you very much, Sainers. I'll see you after the game on Friday. As always, go you mighty Sainers. See you guys.